Hello and welcome to Charging Status, the EV Focus podcast brought to you from The Interface. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jim Starling. How you doing, Jim?
Yeah, good, thanks, Alex. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Did you have a good Christmas? A little while ago now.
It was all right. Yeah, it was all right. I don't know, there's something odd about Christmas. I'm always reminded of all my family that are dead every time I sit around for Christmas dinner. So it's always a bit happy, sad. You've got all the joy of the kids opening their presents in the morning and then all the empty seats at lunchtime. And yeah, it's my birthday tomorrow as well. You know, another year closer to death. So I'm not morbid at all, though.
No, you can tell it's January, so yeah.
Yeah.
So on a more positive note, yeah, we've got some interesting stuff this month. Yeah, as I said, on a more positive note, for some weird reason, we're big in France. So on the 10th of January, the podcast hit number 12 in the automotive charts for the France podcast, which is a bit odd, but I had no idea why. But
wow.
hello, French listeners. But
bonjour. Avez-vous? What is it? I don't actually know any French at all.
No. But yeah, it's a bit odd. I'm not sure. We're not where we sometimes the charts for the podcast goes up in like the 20s for the UK. We sit there for a few days, but I just checked I get emails every day from the platform and it says we're number 12, so that's quite cool. So obviously talking about different things. So the most recent car I've had is the Honda eMY1, and there's a review live now on the Interface Cars channel. In a very quick summary, interesting sort of effort following the Honda E. The biggest thing for me, you've mentioned it before with cars you reviewed, is the lack of a heat pump. Yeah, it destroyed the range, not having a heat pump. You turn the blower on, drops 50, 60 miles of range, so not great. The main summary I gave for that video, if you don't want to watch it, is basically if you like Hondas and you want an electric Honda, go for it. But if you want a good electric car, go and get a Tesla. But yeah.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because like I did a video a couple of weeks ago, because there's an amazing lease deal on the Toyota BZ4X, and it's basically halved in cost to lease. It was over £1,000 a year ago, and it's now sort of 450 quid or something on 10,000 miles a year, 3 months up front. And lots of people in the comments are saying, oh, but it's an awful car and blah, blah, blah. And obviously I reviewed the Subaru Solterra, which is the same car with a different badge on. And they're not an awful car at all. And probably that Honda eNY1 is not an awful car. However,
no, it's good.
When you look at it and it's the same price as a Tesla, or it's the same price as an Ioniq 5, or any number of other cars, is it as good as them? No, it's nowhere near as good. But if the car was priced £10,000, £15,000 less, you'd say it was amazing. I mean, people rave about their Dacia Sanderos, and you can't tell me that that's better than an Audi A6. But as a value for money proposition, it's amazing. If it was 60 grand, people would say they were, doggy do.
Yeah, 100%. It overall as a car, it's quite good. The ride was amazing. Like all the infotainment was really good. It's really soft ride, really really comfortable. But as an electric car, just as purely that, it doesn't quite meet the mark. And interestingly, on Auto Trader, there are quite a few of them. So that car starts at £45,000. There's quite a few brand new cars for £34,000 on Auto Trader.
Yeah, because they're Honda are gonna absolutely miss that zero emission vehicle mandate target, aren't they?
Yeah,
I'm sure they're buying credits from other manufacturers, but they're still going to be in a lot of trouble because they've got one not amazing car that's massively overpriced. So maybe knocking it down to 34 grand, it's a different proposition.
Yeah. But yeah, you can check out that review. There'll be a link in the description and all over the screen if you want to check that out. Just for you, you've got a car coming next month, I believe, an electric car.
Yeah, I haven't had anything really booked in this month, just because I think towards the end of last year I had that LA trip to sort out, and I was ill a couple of times and I had to try and get loads of content in the bag, and then Christmas, and I just didn't book anything in. But yeah, next month I've got the MG4 X Power coming. Obviously, I've had the standard MG4 before. I thought it was a great thing to drive. I thought the build quality was not amazing in places. And I found the battery range very lackluster, but I had it probably like this week last year, and it was really cold. Or certainly, I think in January, and it was really cold, and the battery range was awful. But yeah, I'd be really interested to see how that fares in hopefully slightly warmer weather in the middle of Feb versus the start of Jan. But obviously it might not be. But yeah, just really looking forward to getting behind it and driving. Obviously, we took one out at a drive day, didn't we? Was it an SMMT?
It was
day?
SMMT September, I think, yeah.
Yeah, but I let you drive, so that's difficult to judge because obviously you're sitting in the passenger seat and, well, you're driving, quite frankly, if we can call it driving. So yeah, it's difficult to judge based on that sort of 5-minute experience, but I can't wait to get behind the wheel of one.
Yeah, just doing a quick check. I don't believe it's got a heat pump because that's the main problem with it. It doesn't have one, but weirdly they give you them in Europe, which I think you mentioned is your MG4 review last year. Yeah, really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's this week, by the way, has been, or this last couple of weeks, been the first time I've had really cold weather since I've had the Tesla, and I would say the battery range has dropped by about maybe 20%.
Okay,
it still
is that
shows.
what you expected?
It still shows as full range, but it just depletes quicker than it was before. I have also changed the wheel trims on it though, and I don't know if that's made a difference because they look better and they cover less of the wheel, so it could be they're less aerodynamic than the original Tesla ones. So it'd be interesting to see when it does warm up a bit if they're having any effect or if it is just the cold weather.
I believe they have a little effect on it, like a small effect on the range, but it's still a little bit. I was watching this video this morning. There was at the moment it's like super cold in Canada, like -40, and then they were checking to see how much vampire drain their Model 3 had, and I think overnight at -40, I think it lost 8% overnight with the Sentry mode turned on as well. Which is quite
I think Sentry mode saps quite a bit though, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But I thought that was quite interesting. Like that's so cold for a modern car, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, it's probably not. Sentry mode's probably taken 3 or 4%, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably not as bad as you might think. The cold weather, the effect on the battery. When I went over to LA, we obviously left the car at Heathrow for 8 days, and I was actually expecting that to maybe have lost 20% or something just for the fact it was sitting there. It wasn't particularly cold that week, but I thought just the fact it's standing still, and it lost 1%, which I was quite impressed with.
That's very good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that with Sentry mode turned on or not? You don't use it?
No, I don't use it, no. Don't steal my car, please.
Yeah, because I believe you can log into it remotely, like a security camera, and see what's going on, can't you? I think.
Yeah, I've never done it, but you can. But I don't know if it has to be activated in the first place for you to do that. But
I don't know. Yeah, some cool features on that car. So yeah, you enjoying it still?
Yeah, love it. Yeah. Funnily enough, the guy I went to LA with on that trip came over last night, and we just drove up to Southampton because I had some stuff to pick up from IKEA. And he was saying, last time we were in this, we were on the way to Heathrow, and we both had a little bit of a cry. But he said, are you still enjoying the car? And I said to him, it's just so effortless to live with. Literally plug it in. Like today, I had to go out for a meeting at 9. I had the car scheduled to be defrosted and up to temperature at 9 and the battery preconditioned. It's just effortless. And it still hasn't caught fire.
Very good. Yep, that's miracle.
Unbelievable. To be fair, it would have been okay if it had, because the central heating bill is going to kill me this month.
Oh, jeez. That leads us nicely into, well, I don't know how much stuff that you're aware of that's going on, like in terms of other people talking about EVs on Twitter and stuff. there just seems to be. I don't know if we mentioned it an episode or two ago. This just seems to be like a rampage of just nonsense, basically. I have no idea what's going on. There seems. Well, I'm not going to mention it, but there's a few creators which make a living out of talking crap about EVs, which is just I just don't get it. And then there was also this.
The two creators you're talking about that often collaborate together are getting such unbelievable volumes of views from it, and they're earning so much money from it. Like the one that bangs on about how he's bought this car and it's losing him loads of money and blah blah blah. I worked out he's getting between 1,000 and 1,500 quid a video. So that's more than covering his car payment. And I think people have looked at that and they think, oh wow, like this anti-EV stuff is, a lot of it's very, very lazy as well, and it's getting this number of views. I mean, in videos when they do some ridiculous road trip and moan that the car's only charging at whatever kilowatt, and he's literally next to a 350 kilowatt charger, but he's plugged into a slower one, or he's charging up to 100% every time. And anyone who's does long distances in EV, you charge to 80 and you get on your bike again. Like, it's how you do it. And it's so obviously biased and sort of set up. And I don't know, either the guy is a moron or he thinks the audience are morons, but the audience remains. So maybe they are morons. I don't know. Or maybe morons harsh. Maybe naive is the correct term to
possibly,
use. Maybe he's naive. Maybe they're naive. But whatever it is, it works. And of course, anything that gets clicks these days, people seem to copy.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't watch them, but I tend to hear about the stuff they've done. Or just if you want to just fact check anyone who's done something like that, just go on the Octopus app, Octopus Electroverse. Plumb in where you want to start from, where you want to go to, choose the car, you can plumb in the reg if you want to. It will tell you exactly where to go, and then how many times you like the Tesla sat-nav does. It'll tell you when you need to charge, how long for. It will choose the fastest chargers based on your car. So if you tell it you've got a Genesis or an Ioniq 6, it will say go to Ionity because it's going to be really fast. And then you can export it to Apple Maps or Google Maps, and it'll just put all the stops in for you, and you can see, oh look, that was like you wouldn't have to stop 17 times, you could stop twice. And
And do you need
definitely
to stop to charge, or do you just stop every time you would need to stop? Stop when you need a wee or a coffee or something.
The other one I saw was from Tom and Callow. So Tom does PR for My Energy UK, really interesting company. But he shared this article in the Times yesterday. There was this guy that drove from Twickenham to Lizard Point in a BMW iX, like massive thing, massive battery, massive amount of range. And he was saying he did a 5-hour journey, and because he wasn't too sure about the EV, he stopped at a hotel halfway.
Okay.
Because he was a bit concerned about it doing it, and then there was some. I'll put the links in the show notes, but I plumbed it in the details into Octopus app, and it said you could do it on one stop. You could stop at
well, he could have stopped at
Ionity on the M5, and you can charge for 15 minutes and be on your way again. So
stop at Exeter, charge for 15 minutes there, 15 minutes on the way back, and probably your return journey's covered as well, or certainly half an hour.
But that was in the papers. There was a digital article of it as well. I despair sometimes, but I'm not going to spend too much time on that because
all I can really say is that I've genuinely done a long distance trip in an EV with absolutely no agenda. So I think it was the second time I'd done any distance in an EV was in a Tesla Model Y. It was a long range. Picked it up in Guildford, drove to Edinburgh in it, and then came back sort of down the other coast. We went Newcastle way up, and then came back through the Lake District and down that side. And the total time we spent charging when we hadn't just stopped anyway for food or drink or whatever was 25 minutes. And that was 1,100 miles that we did in 3 days. We didn't charge overnight once, and we could have charged overnight. and we only charged at Tesla Superchargers just to make it slightly more difficult, because although they're good and they tend to have plenty on a particular site, they're not everywhere. So we tried to make it that little bit more difficult, and that was it. That's the reality of it, and that was with no agenda. If that had failed miserably, then I would have done a video about how it failed miserably, but it was just easy.
Yeah, and I think that's. I thought about this the other day. I think with your channel, it's really good that anything you mention on there it's 100% honest. There's no sort of if a video does badly because you've been honest, then okay, that's just what it is. But you're not going to spin anything. It's I think that's what your audience really appreciates. So it's really good.
Yeah, so personally, I don't watch anything that's not. So I think why do you want to be known as a liar or someone that sort of bends the truth or whatever just to get views? I don't personally. I'd rather people stayed around for years rather than turned up for 10 minutes and jumped on the bandwagon and then left again when they realised I was full of what. Yeah,
definitely. We're going to move on to some other stuff. So just a quick reminder for people to review the show if you can. So thanks everyone who has been listening to this podcast. Me and Jim look forward to coming back every month to provide our takes on the latest EV and charging updates. We would really appreciate it if you could review this show in your podcast app of choice, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anything else. If you're watching our absolutely gorgeous faces on YouTube, make sure to leave a comment and hit that like button. It really helps other people find this show. Without further ado, let's get back to the EV news. I don't know if you saw this one. This was from Sainsbury's. So there was, late last year, some people noticed that there was some random orange chargers turning up at some Sainsbury's stores. No branding, no information on how to use them. But they've finally revealed that they've got their own charger network. So for a long time, Tesco have partnered with PodPoint. I think Morrison's have done Genie Point. But this is from the ground up, like a Sainsbury's in-house thing they're doing. So they've got some good stuff. They've got ChemPower chargers, which I really like those. You see those at some garden centres. Long cables, the contactless readers are really easy to get to if you're in a wheelchair, for example. It's really good. So I think this is really good, and there's a lot of potential for them becoming a really big player in the charging space because they've got a lot of stores in the UK. So yeah, what do you think about this? This is quite good. Well,
yeah, it's great. I mean, as you said, they've got so many stores. Then why not? And they tend to be. Usually a Sainsbury's is next to a main road because they're quite large and everything.
Yep.
So yeah, it seems great. I always feel like pricing could be better on a lot of these public chargers, but if they stay at the lower end of it, as traditionally supermarkets did with petrol, they'd always undercut the Essos and Texacos and BPs by 4p a litre. If they do that with electricity for cars, then it can't be a bad thing, can it?
No. So as I mentioned, they're using ChemPower chargers up to 150 kilowatt speeds at some locations where they've obviously got better grid connections. They're going to do up to 300 kilowatt. So if you imagine if you pop into Sainsbury's for, I don't know, half an hour, your car's going to be fully charged if you're on a road trip. For that is, but that's really good. Sainsbury's have said this is based on their own research. So they spoke to 500 EV drivers in December last year, and they said a third of those people would benefit from ultra-rapid charging, and apparently 94% of those people would also prefer to just use one brand of charger to get all their charging because they know how it works, I guess.
Yeah.
What I find really interesting, I saw this at the same time. There's a brand new Sainsbury's being built in Southport. I think I'm not sure what that is, but so Southport Retail Park. The planning documents had a massive store plan, massive car park, and they also had a petrol station planned, and then 4 EV chargers. They've since revised the planning, got rid of the petrol station, and they've put in 14 rapid chargers instead. So they're going to have 18 rapid chargers and no petrol station at this
no
quite
petrol
large
station
Sainsbury's
at all.
Down. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
so
really,
sort of
that's
looking
a really
forward,
bold move,
looking to the
isn't it?
future. Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
So you'd think still have some kind of petrol station because people are still going to be using petrol and diesel cars for the next 15, 20 years. But I guess it'll make them stand out. And probably there's a Tesco up the road that's got a petrol station already. And I guess it's future-proofing, isn't it, really?
Yeah. definitely. There's going to be no app with these to make it really simple. It's going to be contactless only. I would like to see the Octopus Electroverse system adopted because that'd be quite nice. And for, as I mentioned in the show just now, we've got the planning feature on that app. It just makes life a little bit easier. But for sort of making a statement and setting an example, it's really good. And as you mentioned, they're at the lower end of that market for charging speeds. Charging price. So GridServe are charging 79p a kilowatt hour at the moment, which is a bit outrageous. InstaVolt is 85p, so they're 75p. So it's sort of a little bit lower than most of them. But yeah, InstaVolt's so expensive. So yeah, I think that's really good. And Ionity is, I think, 60 something p, and it's cheaper for everyone if you use Octopus. I think.
Right,
it's quite a good price, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, Ionity is so good in my experience. No issues with those at all. I think we'll probably get to a point in the future where every charger has got either the RFID thing, so you can use your whatever app, like Electroverse or the equivalent, plus contactless. But the amount of them, like especially the older stuff where you need like a specific app and you're in an area where there's, I don't know, no signal or something, that seems to be phasing out a bit, doesn't it? And we're getting more to sort of sensible ways of doing things. So long may that continue.
Yeah. If anyone's ever been to Bristol Cribs Causeway, that shopping car park is like an EV wasteland for charging. There's so much old stuff. So I think it must have been back in the early 2010s when BP bought ChargeMaster. I think that's what it was. This car park's got a really old ChargeMaster. It looks like it's working, but it doesn't exist anywhere. But it's turned on. It just doesn't do anything. It was like this whole car park's huge. It's like probably 5 minutes off the M5, and there's no like fast charging. There's no destination chargers there. There's like some 3 pins underneath a canopy somewhere, but there's some really old chargers there that look like they're kind of working, but they don't exist, which is really weird.
Can I tell you a fun fact about Cribs Causeway that's completely unrelated to EVs?
Go on.
I last went there probably about 10 years ago, and I walked in from the car park to the WH Smiths, and an old man walked into me, and he said, "Sorry, son." And I said, "You're Michael Caine." And he says, "Yes, I am." And then he carried on, and it was Michael Caine who was... and I realised we were in a crowd of people at that point that had also kind of parted like the Red Sea. And he was making his entrance to go and do a book signing. And I walked in at that exact moment, and he walked straight into me. Anyway, back to electric cars.
Yeah. That's just thought it was interesting. And what was I going to say? I've forgotten now. Anyway, so yeah.
Was it about Michael Caine?
No.
Oh, that's a shame. It would have been a nice segue, wouldn't it?
It would have been, yeah. It's like, oh, Michael Caine has bought this electric car. Right. There's a piece I noticed you wrote on your website, notaguru.co.uk, folks. It's this 1,000th, I'll probably get that out, 1,000th Aura Funky Cat handover. So GWM Aura has now sold 1,000 Funky Cats in the UK, which should be the Aura 03 now. That's really good. They're making headway into selling EVs. It's really good.
Yeah, 1,000 cars is actually quite a good number. A lot of people would look at that and think that's nothing, but it's actually pretty strong numbers. One of the PRs from one of the big manufacturers told me that their main dealerships sell about 300 cars a year, which I was incredibly surprised by. I thought it would be much, much higher.
Yeah.
And he said that's actually quite a good number.
Right.
And it was a fairly major manufacturer, and that's across all their models. I won't name them. But I think for a new brand and with a challenging name, with a car with quite a challenging design for some people, I think that's really quite impressive, 1,000 sales. I know they've done a lot of discounting. They've had those amazing lease deals, but they've still got the cars out the door. And I guess even if they sold them at break even, it's building a bit of brand recognition, even though they're about to change it a little bit. Yeah,
I like the... they've also... We'll get to it in a minute. They've also refreshed some of the models. The more I look at it, and also I've reviewed on my channel, it looks really good. It's sort of grown on me quite a bit recently. It looks such a good looking car in certain angles and the right colours as well. But yeah, it's really impressive. Like if you look at how many are left and look at other manufacturers, there's 1,000 models of one car is very impressive, to be honest. And it's electric as well, which obviously some people aren't too convinced about yet. Yeah, hats off to them. And we got the Aura Lightning Cow, the Aura 07 launching in the UK pretty soon. But yeah, that leads us nicely into the refresh they did. So there was some rumours. Well, there was some rumours last year, but also they announced it end of last year that the Funky Cat will be renamed to the Aura 03, and that goes along with the other brands that GWM have, like the Coffee Way. I think it's Way brand. They're getting rid of some of the weird naming for the European markets. So yeah, they've sort of refreshed the 03 with the Funky Cat. They've renamed the two models. So we have had the first edition and the first edition plus. They're now the Pure Plus and the Pro Plus. I think Pro Plus sounds like a medicine, but anyway. And the larger one looks good now. So the small one has 48 kilowatt hours of battery pack, and then the larger one has 63 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that should give you 260 miles of range, which is quite good.
Yeah, that's really good. They've kept the pricing quite strong though, and I can't help but think they'll probably have to discount that, or will discount it. But I don't know, maybe there's a marketing tale to be told there. But 260 miles of range is very good.
What I found interesting is that the entry-level model has a lithium-ion battery, and the Pro Plus model has a ternary lithium battery, and I did some research on it. Apparently, that chemistry makeup is better at cold temperature resistance. So it should, in theory, do better in cold temperatures.
Oh, okay. Well, that would suit us quite well, wouldn't it?
It would do, yeah. Don't think that car has a heat pump either still, and the charging speeds are still at 64 kilowatt, which isn't massively fast. But in terms of, yeah.
It is sort of a city car primarily, though, isn't it? So
it is.
Most people are going to have that car for short journeys, and is it so much of an issue? Especially if you get the one with 260 miles of range. If it only actually gives you 60% of that in the winter, it's not perhaps the end of the world for that kind of car.
No, that's true. And they've announced one new colour, which is called Moonlight White paint. Moonlight White, and then it comes with a black roof. I think that looks really good in certain angles as well. Just looks quite really sleek and modern. So I'll put some pictures on screen now if you want to see what it looks like. But yeah, that's really, really good. It's already on Lease Loco, actually. I noticed the day it was announced, they announced the new model was already on Lease Loco, and there's some really good deals on there. So they're already discounting it and doing some nice lease deals. So really good. Really good.
They're I like they're really good with their communications and stuff as well. Like the PR from some companies is a lot better than others in terms of how much they share with you and how much of it's relevant when they do. And I think they're really good. So hats off to Nick and all the guys there, really, because they're doing a great job.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. The deal I found was it was 2 years, 12 months up front. I think it's like £203 a month, which is pretty good. I see the Aura. If you look at Lease Loco and look at the Aura, there's two. You got the old one and the new one, and the new one's cheaper by quite a bit. So, yeah,
that's
nice.
Really quite good, isn't it? That sounds like you there, Alex. I can see an Aura in your future.
Can you, Mystic Meg?
Yeah, something like that.
I can see an Aura 03 in your future by now. There's some sort of deflecting going on from Toyota at the moment. They've come out yesterday and said, we can't do a cheap model at the moment because battery prices are too high. So they've said, even though VW, Stellantis and Kia have all announced plans to launch a £25,000 or less car, Toyota just out refused and just said we can't do it at the moment because the battery cost is too high, which is, they could at least, I don't know, they've only got one electric car on the market, as you mentioned, that the BZ, whatever it is, B4Z, and they got a concept urban SUV, but there's going to be no Igo kind of sized vehicle or Yaris kind of sized vehicle, which is really odd. So
The thing is, for so long they were so anti-EV, and obviously it's only last year or whatever that they changed the CEO because of it.
Yeah.
And they're just too late to the party. But surely, are they using their own batteries in them, or are they buying the batteries in?
I don't know
Because
that,
if
to be honest. Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking Toyota are a company that tend to probably keep as much in-house as they can.
Mm.
If they're trying to produce their own batteries, they're years behind everyone else.
Yeah.
But obviously they're the biggest car manufacturer in the world, so or have been for however long, and their buying power is massive. So surely economies of scale and everything, they can get down the cost of producing batteries. And you have to say, if a company of that size can't do it, how can Tesla?
Yeah, exactly. And also BYD, because it was announced just a few days ago that BYD have overtaken Tesla in terms of sales for the last quarter of last year.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're not very far behind Tesla in terms of the whole year of last year. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with some of the Japanese manufacturers at the moment. They just seem really far behind. I haven't been to Japan for ages, but I'm not sure what the domestic market looks like in terms of what people are buying over there. But that might have something to do with it. It might just sort of in their own little bubble in terms of what everyone else is doing, but they haven't sort of caught up. So seems odd.
The US market's always been huge for them as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, during my recent trip to California, you have to say that you see a lot of EVs now, but you still see tons of huge V8s and everything else.
Yeah.
But you do see a lot of EVs on the road, and you think that the American market is sort of moving over to EV. I think it will be a lot slower and probably even more polarized than perhaps it is here, because you've got so many people that are into the muscle cars and the tuning and everything else, and I think that will always stay in the US. But there's certainly a market for EVs in the US. It's a huge part of their sales. So yeah, it just seems so odd, but it's probably just because they've arrived so late. I mean, VW did it to a degree as well, didn't they? You know, they were sort of late to the party and then sort of rushed some cars out. You could say the BZ4X has got a little bit of a rush feel to it in areas. So, yeah, it's a shame though, because if the Japanese manufacturers really got behind it completely, you have to think they'd produce some great small, cheap EVs, and that's what we need more of, are the small cars, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Because if you look at the top selling cars in the UK, they're all like Fiesta sized. Even the used market as well. There's Fiestas, Corsas, and cars that size. And there's a few coming soon, just not quite enough just yet. What you mentioned about muscle cars, it's not like in America. It's like that enthusiast. There's nothing wrong with that enthusiast group. It's really cool. Like all the muscle cars and stuff. They're like that small niche of people. It is smaller compared to everyone else. So if everyone around them moved to EVs, the impact to the emissions of those enthusiasts isn't a problem, because there's not loads of them in comparison to everyone else. So those, I think some people forget sometimes that because everything else new is moving to EVs, that there's going to be a sort of something wrong with sports cars and things and muscle cars, but there isn't. If you had a small subset of people, it's not going to make any difference really. So I'm sure they'll get there at some point. There's a lot of, every time you see something about Toyota in the news or something, people just commenting saying, "Oh, when's Toyota's EV coming out?" But there's only been one so far.
So it's not too long ago that Toyota had a big event where they showed sort of a load of sort of concepts for Toyota and for Lexus in future, and I think we were led to believe that they were all EV. But it's very, very slow going so far.
I know, it seems really weird, but you have to see what happens. I'm sure they'll get there eventually. Just sort of caught with their trousers down a little bit. So, yeah, I've got 5 used EV deals I found on Auto Trader. So I found this a few days ago. Luckily, They all seem to be still live on the website, which is good. First one we got, I test drove a Mini Electric a few years ago, and I was absolutely amazed with it. It's really fun to drive, but just too expensive. But there's a facelift version of the Mini E, which is from 2021. It's a 30,000 plus car, brand new. This one's done 18,000 miles. It's in a really, really good spec. So it's level 2, so it's got so the mid range. It's got the nice cloth seats. It's just over 15 grand. And it's only done 18,000 miles.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really good colour. That looks great.
Yeah.
There's a new tool I've found, by the way, for Auto Trader, which I'm going to do a little video on.
Okay.
So spoiler alert and all that. But it's called AT Price Tracker, and it's a Chrome extension. And basically, you just install it, get it going. And I'm now on that Auto Trader page, and it's telling me that although it's 15,495, it was first listed on the 12th of December, and it was 16.5 grand then. So it's actually gone down 6% since the 12th of December.
Wow.
So it's a really good little tool, because not only does it tell you where the price was, but it tells you how long the car's been listed. So if you see a car that's been listed for 8 months or something, and it's been discounted heavily, you have to think that perhaps the dealer might even be prepared to lower his trouser a little bit further and give you a heavier discount just to get rid of it, because obviously they want to flip cars within 30 to 45 days. They don't want stock sitting around. Anyway,
well, it's cost them money to host it on Auto Trader, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. Yeah,
it's quite expensive, I found. So yeah,
and they've probably got stock in finance on it, so almost like a bridging loan, a little aside. So they're paying for the finance every month, quite a high interest rate if they don't sell it within, say a 6-week window or something. So yeah, could be an interesting little tool for people.
Nice one. Yeah, again, this Mini looks really good. It's the facelift one. I see quite a lot of these around my local area. So for me, that Oxford green, whatever colour it's called, looks really, really nice. So yeah, check that out in the description down below. There's also an E-Up as well. This one's a 22 reg. It's only about a year or two old. This one's just under £14,000. Not a massive battery, but again, it's a little city car. It's only 4,000 miles, which is insane. It's like nothing really. So it looks brand new. All the accessories are with it. There's no damage on it. Looks really, really nice. So it's a really good one.
I mean, 4,000 miles.
I know. It's like brand new. What does your price tracker say on the E-Up?
So this is a really interesting one, because it went up for sale on the 11th of November at $13,990, and then on the 7th of December, having not sold it in the first month, they put it up by 500 quid, and then on the 21st of December they put it up by another 500 quid. Then on the 3rd of Jan they reduced it by 500 quid, and then on the 16th it came back down to 13,990.
Wow. That's been sitting around for a little while. That's a good second car, I think, if you live not too far away from the town.
Yeah,
but really nice. I think this exact car, the next one, I think we looked at this exact car an episode or two ago, and this looks like it's. I just recognise the pictures. It's an Aura Funky Cat, first edition. It's only done 1,700 miles, which is like box fresh. 23 reg, and it's 21,920. It's in black, so it looks quite stylish as well, but it's practically brand new.
Yeah. I mean, 1,700 miles is incredible. That one started life on the 13th of December at 22,680, so they've dropped it 3%, which is fair enough.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a brand new car, really.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, in black actually looks quite nice. With a nice stylish quite man's wash bag interior. It looks quite nice. Next one, ID3. I remember you looking at an ID3 before you got your Tesla. And this was the cheapest ID3 as of when I made the show notes. It was about Monday, I think. This one's £18,500. 58 kilowatt hour battery pack. Standard Life Pro trim as well. It's done 36,000 miles, so not as fresh as the other ones we looked at. But that I see quite a lot of these around on the road. Not a bad little car. And this is the pre-facelift model, so you drove one recently, but I don't think they're massively different. So that's a really good option as well if you're after a sort of long range-ish EV.
The pricing on that is insane as well, because bear in mind I got the Tesla in September, and I started looking at used EVs about July, August time.
Yeah.
And at that time you were looking at 19 grand for a 2019 car or 2020 car.
Yep.
This is obviously 2 years newer, and 18 and a half.
Yeah, definitely.
So that does look like an absolute bargain.
Yeah, it's done quite a lot of miles in its life. So it's a 22 reg. That's probably, it's either between March and September 2022. So it's done 36,000 miles. That's quite a lot. So it's probably done a lot of motorway miles potentially. So it's
that would concern me, just because it wouldn't, in terms of the fact that you haven't got many moving parts and all the rest of it. So reliability is not an issue, but the fact it's done 36,000 miles in possibly a year suggests to me that that's been fast charged pretty much every time. It's probably been used as a reps car or something. Obviously, loads of these EVs that come into market will be ex-company cars, and if you're a rep, you're fast charging that absolutely every time. So as a long-term investment, the battery might degrade quicker than you would expect, because there's no way that's been slow charged constantly with 36,500 miles on it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'm sure. I know you've looked at sort of these OBD port things before. Do they exist for EVs to look at what the state of health, like an iPhone, you can do? Do those exist today?
Yeah, there are a couple of different things. One's, I think, called Decra or Docra or something.
Okay.
And yeah, you can literally plug in that. Then you can get report run. It's not massively expensive, might be £100 or something, and it gives you like a battery health report. And there are also services that will do it for you. But yeah, you can certainly get battery health reports before you buy a used EV. So that's the classic thing people say is, but once it's out of warranty in 8 years, it's worthless and the battery will be gone. I think people forget that when you buy a new car, you often get a 3-year warranty on the running gear. And no one thinks that car's going to be worthless when the warranty ends. It might become more expensive. But yeah, it's an odd thing, and you generally get 8 years on your battery. So I don't really understand some of those concerns that people voice. But again, it's usually from the naive or the stupid. But yeah, you can certainly get battery report. It's not the end of the world. And obviously, new things coming along all the time that could possibly lead to you getting your individual cells repaired, replaced, rather than binning a battery and starting again. Obviously, it doesn't make for a sensational headline.
That's true.
But there we go.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can take out extended warranty. So my car, I've taken out extended warranty with like a VW all-in plan. I'm sure VW do that for the electric stuff. For certain things. So
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. This very last one we're looking at it's most of the Nissan Leafs I see on Auto Trader, the old style one, so the first gen. This is the second gen, so this one's a 2019 vehicle. It's just under 9 grand, which is crazy. It's done a fair few miles in its life, so 62,000 miles. Not a massive amount. Again, as you mentioned, EVs, there's less to go wrong on them. This looks pretty decent, to be fair. I mean, that's like the price of an average car that people spend, I think, used price, I would have thought. But it's only had one owner from new, so someone's happily had that for a few years. But that's quite a good deal if you're after a relatively good mileage EV. The only thing I would mention is that it's got CHAdeMO, and just judging by what's being launched out there, CHAdeMO looks like it's going the way of like the Lightning port on the old iPhones. It's being pulled out of different places, and then new installations are not having them as many. So you might just have to bear that in mind. And I don't think adapters work particularly well. Not sure, but yeah, that's a pretty decent car. Especially especially if you don't go out in the wild world that often, just in your local area and just charge at home. That's perfect. So
Yeah, the CHAdeMO would put me off, to be honest, because of the reasons you just said. But it's an amazing price, and the new Leaf, when they sort of released that new Leaf, it's still not a car that you're going to look at and lust after, but it looks so much better than the outgoing model. Looks so much more modern, I think. As you said, the older models, they're a sort of 10 a penny, aren't they? They're everywhere. But the newer version of it certainly is a massive improvement in the way it looks.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, there's some great deals there. Again, links are in the show notes and the description if you're watching this on YouTube. The first story we've got in the lightning round is this. It's the fully electric ambulance that has gone into service in Greater London. It's based on an e-transit, so got a good amount of range there, really. But yeah, they've said the Ford-built electric ambulance is the first of its kind, and it's going to go into service right now. They've already been using it sort of late December for some bits and pieces, but there was an announcement tweet on Twitter, or X as you call it, and the comment section on that tweet were pretty poor, with people whinging about it, but and saying they're not going to help anyone if they use these, which is quite funny, to be honest. But they said that it's the latest addition to their emergency fleet of fully electric vehicles in the country, and they've now got 42 Mustang Mach-E's, which are their fast response vehicles, and 3 electric motorcycles, and then so far they have 160 zero emission capable vehicles. So they're gonna have 4 more ambulances in London this year, and then they're gonna have sort of a trial period and see how they do. But they have said that they expect a 12-hour shift this to last fine, even with everything running as it would. So it's interesting.
I'll tell you what as well, having been in the back of an ambulance before, I'd much rather be in something powered by electric than diesel, because you're very, very aware when you're laying in the back of an ambulance, you're very aware that you're in the back of a diesel vehicle. It's noisy, it's just a bit rough, and you feel like you've literally just been put into the back of a transit. And if that happens to have EV running gear rather than a diesel engine, I think it'll probably make it a bit of a nicer place to be for the passenger, personally.
Yeah.
Not that I've got anything against diesels. It's just when you're in the back of an ambulance, a quiet journey might be a bit more relaxing for the passenger.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure what modifications they do to the suspension on those when they convert them to be ambulance or those sort of car style vehicles with a big box in the back. But I know the standard Transit diesel has leaf springs, but the EV Transit has coils. So they might change those when they convert them, but that should lead to a better ride, possibly. Mm-hmm. So there were some interesting comments on the tweet, which we'll put a link to. But there's people saying this is essentially a mobile bomb, which is, I don't know. It's just we need to. I don't know what's going on, to be honest, but it's a story for another day, I suppose.
Maybe if people say it's a mobile bomb, they should be refused entry into the ambulance. If someone's got a problem with it, say, all right, stay here and have your heart attack, mate. Goodbye.
Yeah. As we're transitioning to sort of more public vehicles becoming EV, Oxford has announced a massive investment. I think it's over £82 million. But combined sources, it's not just one source of funding. They've got 159 electric buses have gone live just the other day. Saw quite a few comments about this. I won't go into that. But there was £43.7 million assigned from Stagecoach and different sources. But yeah, that's really good. They've got more electric buses now per person, right, if you divide it up, than London, Glasgow and Leicester. And this should really help sort of air quality in the city. And I know Oxford's quite bus friendly, isn't it? It's quite cycle friendly. But this is really good. Really good. And I used to get the bus before I could drive, and I remember sitting in the back of the bus. You could just feel the entire thing vibrate. And it's so noisy and so, yeah.
Yeah, pretty smelly as well, and not just from the urine on the clothes of the people around you, but obviously from the diesel engine. Every time the doors are opening, but if windows are opening, particularly when you're in London, you notice it. They just seem to be sort of floating vacuums of diesel fumes, and not particularly nice places to be. And again, it's just going to make it a bit more pleasant to be on the bus.
Yeah, Well, one thing I noticed when I was walking around a lot, commuting to work and stuff, that if you got, well, just a very selfish thing, but if you've got music in your headphones, listen to a podcast, the bus goes past, you can't hear it, and you got to rewind. That's the thing I noticed quite a bit. And then if they're electric, the sort of the noise levels in the when you're walking around is going to be a little bit better for you. That can be a good thing. So, all right, the next story we've got is a little bit EV related, but they're doing some more EV events more recently. This is the third location of Cafe Machine has been launched. I went to the launch event of the one they launched in Bedfordshire near Milton Keynes. But this one's more closer to home for you. I don't know if you've been to one of them before. This one's down in Hampshire. It's not too far away from you. And what's quite nice is that all three they've done now are going to have been pubs before. So the pub like sort of landscape in the UK, there's quite a few of them closing down. So they're sort of rescuing them, turning them to like car enthusiast clubs, which are really nice. You haven't been to one before, have you?
No, I haven't, because obviously it's a long way away from me. Oxford being obviously the original one is a fair stretch, and I'm not bothered enough to like make the journey. However, I keep talking about doing a channel meetup for my YouTube channel, and I was looking at Winchester as an area to do it, as somewhere that's, just it's on the M3. Hopefully it's not too arduous for people to go to. Maybe this is the place that we do it. Maybe we do it this one, because it's not too far away from Winchester by the looks of it.
Don't think so. There is a postcode that there is available, but this is I mentioned in the article, it's former pubs, good way of repurposing old buildings. This new one is called The Hut. The pub before it was called the West Moon or Mune Hut. They look like they're going to open it in spring 2024, so not that far away, a few months. There's no fixed date. So, but they have said, can you not turn up while we're constructing, because it's going to cause chaos. They said that for the last one as well. So, yeah, really good. Yeah, it'd be quite nice to do a sort of Notaguru meetup thing at some point. It'd be quite nice.
Yeah, I was going to do it on a Sunday morning or something. So hopefully, plenty of people can go. But yeah, this place, for the benefit of the listeners, it's in a place called Woodlands, which is basically halfway between Petersfield and Winchester. So from me in sunny Ferndown on the edge of Bournemouth, it's 59 minutes, which is not too bad. But yeah, I was to be honest, I would have done the meetup before now, but trying to find somewhere where it's got decent parking, everyone could go and grab a coffee. Honestly, I was struggling to think of anywhere other than like Winchester service station or something. So this would be a big upgrade on that, I'm sure. Yeah, so we'll keep eyes peeled when it opens. Hopefully, they get on with it soon. It's good to see them expanding, because, like we need more car meet places. Good to have. The very last thing we're going to get to is this was announced today, so it's very hot off the press. This is a really expensive Stellantis electric vehicle. This is a new version of the Mokka electric SUV. It's going to have an upgrade. It's got an upgraded battery from the Peugeot E208, so it's got a larger 54 kilowatt battery. That's 252 miles of range. Unfortunately, it is £37,000. So yeah, I think they're having an absolute laugh. I haven't driven the Mokka E, but I'd imagine it's quite a good thing. It looks like it. I actually quite like the look of the Mokka. I think it's quite a cool looking thing. It's not a cookie cutter, at least. It's a little bit sort of braver than some Stellantis group cars. But 36 grand, no. No, unfortunately not. But that's good to see more vehicles coming out. But that'll be good on lease deals, I think. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it'll have to be honest, because three grand off a Tesla Model 3. No, they're not going to sell too many. Cool. Is there anything? That's all the EV news we've got for this month. Is there anything you've been working on personally that you want to let the listeners and watchers know about? I've been going to the gym, which is a new thing for me. I'm trying not to die quite as quickly as perhaps nature is intending for me. So that's something new. But I didn't meet Michael Caine there, though, so the listeners will be pleased to know. So I haven't got another anecdote about that. Other than that, it's just been a really busy month. YouTube's been pretty good the last couple of months. There've obviously been some absolutely amazing lease deals around, particularly on EVs towards the end of last year. Some mind-blowing deals. One of my buddies just got his ID Buzz delivered, which he's paying 250 quid a month for, plus VAT, so 300 quid a month for 2 years, which is astounding. And yeah, there've been some amazing deals, so that's really helped with sort of interest in my channel. But yeah, I've just been really busy with YouTube and a little bit with my coaching business as well. So some things going on with that. My business coaching business, which is called udefine.co.uk. Go and check it out for all your business needs.
Nice little plug there. Yeah, I must say the video you did the other day about your mate's ID Buzz, I really enjoyed that. It was quite interesting to see all the finances. Like, I think you did one last year about the Corsa as well. It's surprising how, how I'd imagine that you might go rock up to a dealership and just accept the PCP stuff, and just that's it, and you don't really dive into it. But it was interesting. That's such a nice car as well.
I think I've maybe been a bit kind on those residual values as well. I think it could be actually quite a lot lower residual value in 2 years on that, because of the amount of them that are going to come into the market, because they've just done however many 100 they did on those cheap lease deals, and obviously they're all exactly the same spec, that they're all coming due in 2 years. So I may have been too kind.
Yeah, in terms of what I've been working on, I published it on New Year's Day. This was at the time when there was like so much stuff in the media, again, about misinformation and stuff. I decided to write a article discussing why we're seeing it, and also lots of FAQs about EVs. Essentially, it's like a fact checker thing. So, if you've got some questions about EVs, or you're wondering why there's so much nonsense out there, go and have a look at that. There's some good questions about EVs, why they don't. Well, yeah, people say they don't work in the cold. There's some interesting information about that. What you can do about not charging at home, where the energy comes from for the grid, and some conclusions. So, yeah, go and check that out. I thought that was quite a good one. It took me quite a while to write. So, yeah, all good.
Yeah, that's a great thing actually, and I guess that's going to be a bit of a living, breathing post, which you can sort of update over time.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's just time for, obviously Quentin Wilson's done a hell of a lot on this side of things, but it is time that people that have perhaps got more knowledge, or perhaps have got a bit more in the way of ethics, actually fight back against some of it.
Yep.
As you know, I'm not obsessed with electric cars. It's just as likely that my next car, if I bought a second car, it's just as likely that would be petrol as it is electric. All I know is I probably wouldn't buy another diesel in 2024 for various different reasons, but it's just so annoying. Like when these are black and white differences over fairly simple subjects, you know.
I know.
The fact that it's constantly reported on, like the car fire thing, and when you actually look at the numbers, it's ridiculously weighted in the other direction. And so much of it is such utter nonsense. It's like they've picked the most, like the worst possible example to go after, because the opposite is true, and then we'll try and make that the truth.
I know.
I don't know. I think it's disgusting.
When I was researching this post, there was an interesting thing I found. So I don't know if you remember, there's a guy called Giles Corran who wrote quite an interesting, well, it wasn't interesting, but just wrote a piece about his I-Pace, that how it ruined his family. And it says, why pull the plug on my electric car? I said, as you can expect, this kind of article went pretty viral. It had 7,000 comments on the Times website. And then he spoke to Quentin Wilson and said, look, the reason why we do these stories in the Times about electric cars is because they get so much attention, so many comments and so many clicks. That's a quote from the guy who wrote the article. So yeah,
and that's all it comes
down to. If that's not evidence, I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I know.
It's like when the Sun take people's YouTube videos, and it might be quite a pro EV video, but if they say one thing negative about it, the Sun will take it and quote it just totally out of context, and make it a really negative story. And they've
It happened to Nicola Hume. It
several
happened
times.
to yeah. Yeah, it happened to Nicola Hume. It happened to Bourne Island. It happened to Tish as well. She reviewed the EMY1 and said it. I think she mentioned one thing at the end about it, like not being brilliant, and they took that and they ran with that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No
just
idea.
annoying.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to leave that episode there. I hope you enjoyed the episode. So thanks for listening and watching this episode of the Charging Status podcast. You can find us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. For a full description of this show, visit the episode link in the show notes. And we also have an ad-free premium version of this show available on Apple Podcasts. That will help support this episode and future podcasts from the interface. Jim also has a book out all about used cars. Be sure to check that out. It's a great read. Link is in the show notes and on Jim's website, where I'm an occasional contributor. Thanks again, Jim, for joining me on the show. Where can people find you online?
Probably the easiest place to go is to my website, which is notaguru.co.uk, and you'll find my social links on there.
Fantastic. For more EV news and other content, check out Jim's website and my website, theinterface.uk. Thanks everyone for watching or listening, and we'll see you again next time.
Bye.